Welcome to the Landing Strip with Nick Lynham and Mikey Garcia, presented by From Financial.
Welcome back to the Landing Strip after the Winnipeg Jets drop another one. Though maybe a better game than some of us expected. I was underselling them in this one a bit more than what we saw. But alas, it is still a 4-3 loss for the Winnipeg Jets, who now move to 2 wins in their last, 10 games?
Yep.
Mikey, how you doing tonight, buddy?
Well, we've been starting all the shows lately. Unfortunately, this wasn't a win. There's going to be no music playing off the hop, but I do have something for us real fast.
Don't stop thinking about tomorrow. Don't stop. We'll soon be here.
The tank is alive and well. If this was a year ago, we'd be looking at this going, man, no Connor Hellebuck. They went out there, kept it close against Dallas, a high-powered team, all this type of stuff. We'd have some glowing things to say about the moral victory. Unfortunately, they don't get any of that right now. The benefit of the doubt isn't as high as it would have been, I think, if they were more in it. But good to see that, this was a close game and not a blowout.
Yeah, they might get the benefit of the doubt from me tonight, to be honest. That might have been my favorite game in a while. Not that that's saying much.
Yep.
But there were some positives there from your Winnipeg Jets there tonight. Cranberry says they miss Squirtle, and maybe one day we will get a stretch run where you're getting sacked Squirtle to start off the show a lot more frequently. Frosty Winnipeg calls this a good loss is its own reward. Definitely good for the crowd of us that is cheering for an ethical tank. I thought, as someone that was at the game, I thought it was the most enjoyable game they've played in some times. I would take an effort like that versus Dallas over even the OT loss or the shootout loss against Montreal that everyone thought we turned a corner on. I'll take that even against the game against Buffalo. I thought the Winnipeg Jets of this hockey game. The penalty kill kind of shot them in the foot. Defensively, still pretty leaky, and we'll get into that. But for a team that's been struggling to score, I think getting 33, 34 shots on goal is a bit of a step forward and a bit of a process I wouldn't mind seeing this team trying to repeat a bit more frequently. What's your big takeaway here tonight, Mikey?
Actually, it was exactly that. The fact that the Jets didn't start this one by being outshot 2-1, which we've seen so often during the losing streak or, run of bad games, however you want to call this last little bit. And the fact that they actually outshot their opponents in general. It's something we haven't seen. It hasn't been characteristic of their game of late. So it was nice to see. At one point, I'm so conditioned to the way things have been going lately that when the Jets actually were up early on in the shot attempt clock, I had it reversed. I was looking at going, okay, yeah, so they're down, whatever it was, I think 11-5 at the time. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. This has been the way it's gone the last little while. And then I look at my phone, and in a chat that we were having there, Jordan Voth goes, yeah, and the Jets are out shooting Dallas early. And I went, what are you talking about? No, holy shit, yeah, they are. I've just been so conditioned to seeing the Jets being the ones pummeled on the shot clock there that it completely took me out of it. So really happy to see that they were able to do that. It didn't result in a win, but like you said, when they've been lacking offense, really trying to find it, sometimes you just got to throw everything at it and, see what comes out of it.
Some thoughts on this game from the chat before we dive into some of our thoughts on it. At Caitlin Doucette says this would be fine if we weren't the worst team in the league for the past month and a bit. At Wesley Fallis, our boy RRR. Hey, look at us agreeing. RRR says that's the best game they played for like 2 months. I'm on that bandwagon tonight. This is not one I'm going to beat up too hard because I'm going to take a different perspective of our friend Gordy Angus saying, agreed. They look like they gave a damn for once, but effort can't cover up poor roster construction and defensive ineptitude. I saw a team that busted their ass today. I saw a team that didn't quit down 3-0, and given the last stretch of games, you could see why they might quit at 3-0. I definitely quit on them. at 3-0. I didn't think there was a chance they'd score 3 goals. Never mind 4 to win it. And once again, the big boys, Kyle Connor, who I thought was all over this game. This might be my favorite Kyle Connor game in some time. I thought he was possessed in what he was creating. I'm stunned he didn't score a goal tonight. Mark Scheifele gets two more in the goal column. One from Josh Morrissey, one from Kyle Connor. They claw their way back into this thing. And then Dallas takes a 2-goal lead on a Dylan DeMello penalty. On a power play that I thought Dallas's power play really cut through the seams and made Winnipeg's. I was kind of sitting there. Actually, you ranted the other day, Mikey, about what does Winnipeg do well. I was kind of wondering about what their penalty kill does well, watching what Dallas did to them, exposing the seams. But they battled their way back in this. As Peg City Scott says, when I saw 3-0, I felt here comes 12-0. I was thinking another 5-6-1er at that point.
Yep.
So for me, this group gets some points for me. And as someone that still wants them to fall down the standings, if they want to perform like this and just miss, this is the type of game I could be proud of. This is the type of game I could take some things out of. And you know what else I'm going to take out of it?
What's that?
Logan Stanley. Golgan Stanley gets his own rebound. Love the Sully, too.
Yep.
Gotta say, I love the Sully from Logan Stanley at 4-3 to try and drag this team back in it. Mikey, I believe you have a stat for us on Mr. Stanley and the Winnipeg Jets goal-scoring woes. This is quite alarming.
Now, are these goal-scoring woes, or is this a player having a career year, really establishing himself as a goal-scoring threat? Let's not, downplay how that Logan Stanley has more 5-on-5 goals than anybody not named Mark Scheifele, Kyle Connor, or Gabe Vilardi. Your top line has the most, no question, those 3 guys. And then after that, it is Logan Stanley next up with the most 5-on-5 goals. So, yeah, it's a career year, Rocket Richard future for Logan Stanley. Are we going to be seeing the Claude Noel treatment happening for Logan soon? Are we going to get a winger move up, get Logan Stanley on that, maybe 3 LW?
As Wesley Fowler says, contract years stand.
That's right.
Frosty Winnipeg points out Stanley has more goals than Perfetti, Taves, and Nyquist. Maybe Stan should be on the second line. And Jordan Voth asks, what is Logan Stanley's extension going to be? Where I see Choices TK was also going that direction. And we just alarmed Liani Live over on Twitch, who says, Jesus fucking Christ, I did not need to hear that. That is quite the stat.
Yep.
For the Winnipeg Jets. And to add to that stat, did we realize that he is the 3rd highest played player at 5-on-5 this year for Winnipeg?
Absolutely, yep. He's been healthy the whole year through, hasn't really missed much time. He's, there's a lot of fluctuation, a lot of change that's happened this year, but the one constant, baby, it's Golgan Stanley.
The fact that it's only the top line. He is tied with Josh Morrissey and Nino.
Yep.
And who else? Oh, it's just those 2.
Just those 2.
Good God,
yep.
Man. And, yeah, if you would have told me that stat before the season, that December 9th, that would be true. Where we are in the standings would make a lot of sense, actually.
Well, I would have thought we'd be so much higher up because that just means that, everybody's scoring a whole bunch for Logan to be up there. That's weird.
That is crazy. Gilbert Marion does ask, what is his plus minus? At 5-on-5, he's been on for 17-4, 18 against. Not that bad.
Not bad.
Though I do think that the 3rd pair is just a no-go for me. Yeah. Though we saw the pairings jumble up. And we saw a lot of different guys playing with a lot of guys. The blender was working on overtime.
Yep.
What'd you think out of some of the deep pairs we saw from the Winnipeg Jets tonight? As it was all over the place. It started with the normal 6. We saw, Did we not see everybody play with everybody on the left and right side tonight?
I think we saw at least a couple shifts with everybody getting a look with each other's partner tonight.
Kind of explains some things.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about shuffling deck chairs on the Titanic. I don't know what you want to call this, shuffling the seat cushions in an airplane that's crashing. Like, it's the fact that they were able to stay in with Dallas while absolutely like having no consistency on the back end in terms of who was playing with who in which situations. The line blender was in full force for the forwards. Like, there were more margaritas handed out in this one than there were turnovers, and that's saying something. So, yeah, it's, you can take a lot of good things out of the, overall push and compete level of everything tonight, but it does still feel like that they're kind of flailing a little bit, trying to find something that's going to, grab on and hold for a little bit here.
Yeah. I guess what I saw today was I thought the Winnipeg Jets controlled the territorial battle, right? And to put up 30-plus shots, you have to be in control of it. But it did feel to me when Dallas established the O-zone, especially the Rantanen line, the Robertson-Hintz line as well, that it felt they were able to pick the seams pretty easily, no matter what group was out there. I thought Dallas, with the limited time they did get, was very opportunistic, but they created really, really great chances out of it. It's safe to say Winnipeg's trying to find anything from their back end to be trying everybody with everybody. I think DeMello's having a real tough time being a top pairing guy, and they just don't really have much there. We've seen Pionk get moved up with Morrissey when they're chasing games, so I didn't mind seeing that.
Yep.
DeMello Sandberg was interesting. I thought Sandberg kind of bailed them out at times. This was one game live. I thought that was the Sandberg I love to watch. He felt a lot more in control of things defensively. He was in control of that stick. He broke up a ton of plays again. I thought this was a positive step forward for where Sandberg's game's been post-injury. And then the third pair is interesting. A lot of bad goes their way. Stan gets on the board with a big goal. I don't trust that group at all. I just don't have any trust in that group. And that's been something we've been talking about all year, though. The third pair, no matter who's been out there, has not been great.
Yep.
They need some kind of answer down there because you can't be jumbling up everything trying to protect your guys when you go into a matchup like that.
No, it just doesn't work out, especially because you don't trust that third pairing. Neither does Scott Arniel because, again, they're only playing 11 minutes-ish. Logan Stanley had 11 minutes, 5-on-5 today. Shen had, I think, 9 minutes, 5-on-5 today. The coaches also know that they can't be out there, especially as a pairing. It doesn't work. But like you said, they don't have a ton of other options that they feel comfortable starting game in, game out. So we're going to keep seeing it this way for the next little while. But yeah, I don't think it's crazy to say that they're not a trustable pair. They have not built up any reason to say that, you can have them out there in a third period and not just be sitting on your hands waiting for something to happen. So the coach agrees with you, right? They didn't play a whole hell of a lot. And if you look at that shift chart, you can see that as the game tightens up there at the end, they have a nice, comfortable spot parked right on the bench.
One thing that did stand out, I thought Morrissey was coming off one of his toughest games in Edmonton. At Wesley Follis points out, Morrissey's skating is amazing to watch. That was a guy that genuinely tried to push this thing forward at the end of this game. We saw how he patrols that line. Some of those second effort diving plays that he gets his stick on to keep plays alive, like we almost see Kyle Connor get a chance off of one of those late in this game. I thought this was an excellent bounce back from Josh Morrissey in-house.
Yep, 100%. Morrissey, never really worried about if a bad game pops up, which can happen to anybody. Anybody can have a bad day at their job. I was never really worried about it, and yeah, we saw him right back to being the Norris candidate that we expect.
I want to touch on the last couple things for the D, and then there's some points over on Twitch from Justin and HH Living Local I want to discuss. But I like this way from Cranberry. I like how Cranberry summarizes this game. Says over on YouTube, Stars were so confident even though the Jets had possession more. Jets squeezing the sticks and Stars casually confident. The Stars did exude a quiet confidence, and I thought they really showed it when the puck was on their stick in the D zone. And as our friend Mr. Angus says, bad teams don't finish. They had a ton of chances, but they don't have the talent beyond the first line to bury them, and that's been a problem all year. But on the back end, we got some news today. I got to apologize. I thought it was going to happen yesterday. It happens on Tuesday instead. Elias Salmonson goes down. Hayden Fleury will be activated. How do we see Hayden Fleury factoring into this decor? And how do we feel about Elias Salmonson getting sent down?
I think we're going to be seeing Fleury most likely just rotate in every couple, few games onto that third pairing most likely, and be the first one in for whatever injuries pop up. They seem to still really like Fleury in that bottom six there, so that's what I intend to, or it's what I'm expecting to see. I'm guessing that's what they intend to do with him going forward. As for Salamonson, am I surprised? No, we definitely knew this was what was coming with the way that they've built the roster construction. Am I happy about it? No. I still think the best spot for him right now is playing NHL games, especially with the way that their other options on the right side have kind of fared lately. I don't think you're losing a whole bunch by having Salamonson work on his game at the NHL level and get some reps and some time in. But again, it's not that we weren't expecting it. We knew this is what was coming. They're a veteran team. They're a veteran club. They've talked about it over and over again. That's the route that they want to go this year. So yeah, Salamonson will head back down to the Moose. He'll pop back on that first pairing there, and hopefully he'll be ready to pop up if they do need him on that right hand side again.
Yeah, some comments from the chat before I chime in here. At Caitlin Doucette says, "Don't worry, Hayden Fleury is on the way."
Yeah.
Frosty Winnipeg said, "While Salah was sent down, at least he gets to choose who he plays with next year. The mellow spot appears to be open." Ooh.
Spicy.
At Palmerlane says, "And their minutes being limited is why it did not help Salah to be put on third pair. How can he be properly developed that way?" And at Gilbert Marion says, "Unfortunately, having a third pair that's weak is taxing the top four physically and mentally." And last thing from Turd says, "Nick, is the return to Hayden Fleury enough to shift the balance in the West and push into the battle with the Stars and the Avs for first or second in the Central?" Based on my reaction reading it, I think you could read between the lines on the idea that Hayden Fleury is shifting the balance in the Central Division. As for me, at this point, I think everyone knows that I'm resigned to the fact that I think this year's a write-off. And when I look at approaching this season, I would be prioritizing and figuring out what I have to build up and try and bounce back up for next year. This idea of winning hockey games this year, they're going to do it. Connor Hellebuyck's around the corner. We got to talk about that. Big news about Hellebuyck tonight. But I don't think the floor falling out from Elias Salmonson is hurting the team any worse than Luke Schenn every night.
Yep.
I think there's more upside to gain by having him learn at this level and get comfortable. And then from an organizational standpoint, if he proves and shows he could be an NHLer with a run, you go into the offseason with a better idea of which you need or don't need. You're penciling him in if he can develop into a spot. And that's one less need next year rather than going next year and finding the next version of Luke Schenn to sign for a year and plug ahead of him because you're not confident what he's going to be. I just think there's a lot more for the Winnipeg Jets to gain where they are as an organization right now by having a guy like Elias Salmonson learn the NHL game. I didn't think this year, and we talked about it, I didn't think the forwards came up and showed well. I think Elias Salmonson's had a bumpy road, but he's shown a level where I think people can get excited about things. And I think he should have the rope to really develop himself at 21 years old here when you're looking at Luke Schenn, Logan Stanley, Colin Miller, who is the 8th defenseman at this point. They don't trust him.
Yep.
And Hayden Fleury in front of him. That's a lot of guys that could be eating press box popcorn in the NHL all over the place.
Yep.
Elias Salmonson might be doing more than that for you for the next decade. I'd use this opportunity with how bad the team's been, how little you've gotten out of that pair, and what it could mean next year to give a guy like that some rope. That's just where I'm at with the Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah, even if it'd be one thing if the Jets were still, using all three pairings fairly equally. You were still putting out the third pairing late into games, and yeah, they weren't performing well, but you can clearly tell the coaches have a lot of faith and trust in them to still, take some minutes and help out late. That's clearly not the case. It's just not. They obviously know that you can't trust that third pairing in any form of Stanley Shen, Flurry Shen, Flurry Stanley, whatever you want to do. The coaches know you can't trust that late into the games or even for a big chunk of minutes. So I don't understand why it would be absolutely insane to suggest, hey, get Elias Salomonson into some games, let him work on this, because like you said, you've got a bunch of guys that right now should be eating popcorn and sitting in the press box, and then you've got another guy who you would hope for the next 10 years is patrolling your blue line in a massive piece of a really good team. So it's a weird kind of spot to keep going, yeah, but he's got to go back when you're not getting production or anything from the current grouping. So
A couple of thoughts on that from our chat, and a couple bounce spots I want to go to here. Justin L says, and Shen too, Jesus Christ, man, how did a real NHL GM give up a second and a fourth round pick for that guy? It's bad enough as a rental, but he had term at like 36 years old.
yeah.
Angus says, I feel like DeMello aged 10 years in the offseason, and that's been a common thought around the market this year.
Yep.
Kaylin Doucette does ask, what vibes per 60 does Salo bring?
We don't know yet. We got to find out. He could be pretty chill.
Harjivan Parwana says, a wise man once said, draft, develop, and depart.
Yep.
Are we going to hear another trade request?
I swear to God, if he gets AHL Defenseman of the Year, if you have any sites that are taking bets on him asking out, that's when you know to do it.
Nicholas at night says, Luke Shen has as much juice left as their last few seconds standing at a urinal. Here's a question for you, though. And Gilbert Marion goes, can Miller Fleury be any worse than Shen Stanley? Impossible. But here's a question for you, because I read into this before the game. Al Camino says, all we need to know is the Stars thought so little about this game they played their backup goalie. Jake Ottinger, 9-1-0, if I'm not mistaken, in his last 10 games.
Yep.
Riding a bit of a heater. A division rivalry game on the road. Sees Casey DeSmith get the start. Did you read into it as the Winnipeg Jets are looked at as a backup goalie night moving forward here?
Yeah, how could they not be? You have one line that's going. One line offensively that's going. And for all the talk of Connor Scheifele, Iafallo, oh, they did it. They broke up the top line. Gabe Velarde to run his own line now. Da-da-da. No, it's still just the top line that produced your offense tonight. Yeah, if you're looking at the schedule, if you're an opposing team, all you have to do is shut down that top line for the Jets. That's it. That's where you know that if you can, go out there and throw some water on that fire there, you don't have to worry about the rest of the lineup and you can play your backup. Other teams have eyes. I'm not surprised.
Along those lines, HH Living Local's big takeaway was, this is one of the most mystifying Jets teams I've ever watched in a long time. Like, we all knew scoring was going to be an issue, but it's genuinely insane to see how few goals are coming from anyone else. And, if you look at the Jets right now and you think you could stop one line in Connor, Scheif, or if you think you can outscore them down your lineup, why wouldn't you play a backup right now? Because you're not fearing three quarters of the offensive lines coming over the boards. I do think we could read into that, especially with how good Jake Ottinger's been. This is a night you could look at, like, if you're Dallas, as if we keep this slide going in Winnipeg, it could be a dagger for the Winnipeg Jets. And they still, with Casey DeSmith, and Nicholas at night is a bit of a wordsmith, says the Stars DeSmith the Jets as a worthy opponent.
Very good. Very good.
And Cranberry does point out, there has been a lot of backups lately. I do think that's something we can be reading into a little bit with this Winnipeg Jets slide.
Yep, 100%.
On the mix, so we got the half measure that I predicted.
Yep.
Gabe Velarde bounces down to play with Lowry and Nino to start. We saw line changes as the game went on. What'd you think of IFL going to the top line, Velarde bumping down, and with the Winnipeg Jets got out of their mid-six or bottom nine, however you want to talk about it?
I think it was Frosty Winnipeg in the chat who said that, this team is every day I'm shuffling, except it's not LMFAO that's out there saying it. That's all this was again. We're just, we keep coming back to, moving those chairs around as the boat sinks. It's when you only have the one group that's going, the one group that's actually able to find any type of offensive juice right now. They just don't have the other pieces needed to kind of put the rest of the roster in a good spot without really taking a look at what breaking up Scheifele and Connor means. So yeah, they can, Iafallo, sure, he can play on that line. He's played with them before. It doesn't really do anything for me. Until they either have some like big transformational roster shakeup in some way, you're just going to keep seeing this. I don't think the current roster construction really gives you a lot of options in terms of like, wow, this is really the way to go with it. You've got a bunch of guys who you might be able to find a little bit of something with, but for the most part, you've got a bunch of pieces that don't quite fit well together, and you're trying to make something in that middle six or, bottom nine, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, it's, I'm sure we're going to see games like this quite a bit lately where we're going to have, what did we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We had 7 different forward line combinations tonight. So I think we're going to be seeing a whole lot of that going forward.
Yeah, pardon me. I got a bit of a guest that wants some attention here joining the show. So we might get a dog popping in and out. Yeah, you know me at this point. I think it is shuffling the deck chairs to do anything but split the big two. I think it's their only chance at having two guys drive successful lines. That being said, I thought the Kyle Connor, Mark Scheifele, and Alex Iafallo line did everything humanly possible to try and drag this team to a win. I thought this was Kyle Connor's best night. You saw him in the first period alone had 4 or 5 shots. He had to have had double-digit shot attempts tonight. And then when he wasn't shooting, he was back in playmaker mode. You see it with the Scheifele goal. He had set up a couple looks on the power play as well. I thought this was one of his best nights. And then Mark Scheifele, again, this was another game. I thought Mark Scheifele was really driving in all 3 zones and looking like that player that I do think should be at the Olympics. And this was another night where he shows it. 2 big goals, but I thought you saw the details in his game. Really trying to carry the Winnipeg Jets the right way. So that group still continues to get up chugging. But once again, we see a mix-up in the middle 6 that leads nowhere. The reality is, outside of Mark Scheifele, Josh Morrissey, Kyle Connor, and Gabe Velarde, this team has a bunch of Jags, just the guys.
Mm-hmm.
And this forward group, I don't think you can make a case for anybody outside of the top line. That is pushing more than being just a guy. And it sucks because the type of year Scheifele and Connor are having, I don't want them broken up for the same reasons I wanted in years past. I think the Winnipeg Jets absolutely need to do it because it's their only chance to try and survive. Really tough sledding, but this is a roster construction issue. It's not something that we can continue to beat up the players with.
Yep.
And this was a game where I thought the Winnipeg Jets really did put a legit step forward. Until you make that switch, I think you're swimming upstream. And that's just where we are with how this team's built, unfortunately.
The funny thing is, we're going to keep trying and have, like I said, 7 or 8 different line combinations tonight over and over and over again before we try the one combination that you would hope would actually be the kind of more beneficial one. The one so that you can get your 2 superstars out there for 2/3 of a game, covering way more of those minutes. It's bananas to me that we will have multiple games where we're going to try 8 different, it was 8, sorry, I miscounted earlier. We tried 8 combinations tonight of forward lines, so 2 full games worth of lines essentially, before we're ever going to even look at the possibility that Mark Scheifele and Kyle Connor could play on different lines. Is like, it's almost comical at that point because it's staring you in the face. And you obviously, as a coaching staff, know that the rest of this isn't working, or you wouldn't still be doing 8 different lines every game. If you knew that there was a different combination that kept Scheifele and Connor together that worked for everybody else, you would have done it. And we've tried literally every combo that we have except that one. Like I said, it's almost comical at this point that they're, just not doing it on purpose.
The one thing I did like to see, and this is what we've kind of talked about, in the last 7 minutes, when they're down chasing a goal, we saw the big three get put back together and create chance after chance. You can get creative with your bench and find those guys extra shifts and find extra offensive looks, off icings, ozone, power plays, obviously, with the net empty. And I got to say, Iafallo and John Toews being the extras with the net empty really emphasizes how this team is put together.
Yep.
But there's a few people going there. I want to go to a couple places. I want to go to Taves and I want to go to Perfetti. I see over on Twitch, Justin L says, call up Chebrikov, Yeager, and Lambert for Thursday. Sit Taves and dealer's choice for any 2 of the other numerous sleeping vets. I can't fucking take watching Taves look worse than Riley Nash and James Wright any longer, man. And Kevin K points out that Taves played sub 9 minutes total ice time, 6 of it a 5-on-5. It was a single-digit expected goals percentage. We saw him start the game on the wing on the 4th line. Where are things going with this Jonathan Taves experiment, and what did you see today?
I've saw kind of what we've been seeing for the last few weeks. It's just not there for Taves right now. He's able to occasionally get himself into some good positions. He had another opportunity tonight. I think when we were even down just a single goal still at that point. I think he could have tied it with that one late. It's just so again, we've talked about it. The hockey sense is still there. The hockey IQ is still there. He understands the game. He can see the game. His body just can't keep up with where his mind is going right now. We've seen it game in and game out. We warned about it coming into the season. Tried to temper expectations, tried to say, hey, 40 points, maybe a little hot. Let's tone it down on the, a few games ago, we tried to tell you, hey, Taves might need to actually be a winger for a little while because the weight of playing centers is weighing really hard on him. We've now moved him all the way to the wing. We've moved him all the way down to the 4th line. There's not a lot of places left to go from there. So unless he finds the fountain of youth, he takes a senzu bean for anybody who watches Dragon Ball. Unless something like that is happening to him and he's going to turn that clock back, the next spot is, watching a couple games from up in the press box, and the next spot after that is a spot on the alumni team next year.
For the Heritage Classic, eh?
Yep. I think that might be more his speed.
I am starting to wonder about this a little bit now, in a way that I didn't think we'd be talking about. A lot quicker maybe than I expected.
Yep.
Because we went from a 16 minutes 2C to barely playing any minutes on the 4th line wing pretty quickly. I think they're probably right to identify that. And I am wondering if we're going to see a healthy Scratch or maybe some movement there in some way with where this is trending. Obviously, everyone wanted it to be a good story, but unfortunately, it hasn't been that. And I got to shout out caller Nick. I wasn't getting the calls through my headset last show, so I listened back, and the Forrest Gump analogy made me piss myself the next morning. It's kind of the reality of where we're at, and it's not trending well. It is also not trending well for Cole Perfetti, as there's a couple of comments in the chat. Gilbert Marion says, confidence is everything. Perfetti is really missing it right now. Says it's another game where Perfetti is invisible, needs so much more than that. And does point out that they're wearing their Fraud Squad gear and had a lot more lately. Love to see that. Funner, 9454 says, yeah, Perfetti got a finish. Mr. Angus says, package Perfetti and some picks for a 2C. You've been a lot higher holding the line on Cole Perfetti this year.
Yep.
I've been starting to fade. Where are we at with Cole's game? As it was another, for me, dud from Mr. Perfetti.
Yeah, there's no question that they need more from Cole Perfetti at this point. You can't have Logan Stanley be your fourth highest scoring forward at 5-on-5. Even with the time that Perfetti missed, it can't be. That's just unacceptable. He can't have Nito Niederreiter and all those guys, ahead of him in that sense either. You need your young, top 10 drafted superstar maybe not superstar, but your young top 10
Definitely
drafted.
not superstar.
Yeah, well, but I just meant like a top 10 pick you would hope would turn into something, a little bit more than just a depth piece. So, yeah, they'd need more from Perfetti, no question about it. I'm sure he would tell you the same thing. Am I ready to completely give up on Cole Perfetti? No. Am I ready to, should he be the one in the press box at this point? Not really. I still think he can, is fine defensively, can work on the offensive game while he's playing. When it comes to trades and things, anybody's tradable. There's really there's not a whole lot of, no-go zones when it comes to the depth pieces on the Winnipeg Jets, as long as whatever's coming back obviously is greater than what you're losing. But am I actively shopping Perfetti as like the problem in that middle six? No. We talked a lot last game about making chicken salad out of chicken shit. I don't know how, Perfetti's supposed to make, deviled eggs out of any of this shit. Like, it's not there with what he has to work with. I had mentioned earlier, you've got a whole bunch of pieces in that bottom 9, whatever you want to call it, that are just disjointed, that don't work together, that are just not complementary pieces that are able to find, any type of chemistry, any type of footing. So is he one of the problems? Yeah. Is he the biggest problem that I'd be looking to replace right away? No.
Okay, a few different places here. As Mike Friesen, Mike F1010, good to see in the chat, says Jets drafted a 10th overall center, and now he's a mid-6 complimentary piece winger.
Yep.
And I do think that is the best way to describe him at this point. The Winnipeg Jets 100% need more from Cole Perfetti. And as much as I look at it and see this is a guy that you look at as a distributor and there's not much around him, at the same part, Logan Stanley has 4 goals. Cole Perfetti has 4 points. Cole Perfetti has been just a guy as much as the rest of that bottom 9.
Yep.
And I can't look at him any differently. I have not seen a step. And so much of the Winnipeg Jets top 6 and what they wanted to try with it, even though it was a really stupid way to try it, did depend on him taking a step. And I've seen a player not only not take a step, but stagnant to this point since he's come healthy. And I'm totally on board with him being packaged up to try and get an impact piece into this top 6. I really think he's your best piece to try and create with that.
It's funny. We thought last year, or not we, but there was a lot of talk last year that Perfetti and Ehlers as line mates doesn't work. It's not great. It's not great for either of them. Yeah, Perfetti's having a good year and he's playing well now, but that's not a great piece for him. And you take that one piece away, and now it's like, where the fuck is Cole Perfetti? Where'd he go? Where are you? Jesus Christ, can we get him? It's kind of interesting.
Over on YouTube, there's a few thoughts on Cole Perfetti. Pomerley also says he needs to be packaged in a trade. He has not carried over momentum. Caitlin Dew says a big part of the Moneyball strategy to replace Ehlers was Perfetti taking a big step forward. Turd Ferguson says Fetz doesn't even touch the puck in the ozone. He's invisible. Not a lot to play with for sure, but he's a non-factor. It's not about no puck luck or no finish. He just doesn't touch the puck. Yeah, they've needed a lot from him. I haven't seen him. And at the end of the day, we talk about the lack of pace for this team. The reality is, for this to have worked, Gabe Vilardi's your 3rd best forward, and Cole Perfetti's supposed to be your 4th best.
Yep.
And Adam Lowry's supposed to be your 5th best. For a team that needs to up the pace, 3 out of their 5 guys of their best players can't even do it. As much as we talk about the depth guys, there's a bit of a roster problem with that there, and they might have to use a Gabe Vilardi or Cole Perfetti, and I'm using Cole Perfetti at this point to go change this mix and create 2 different pairs in the top 6. I think that's one way that you're going to have to look and try and parlay this into something.
If you still think that this is a season worth saving, that if you want to take that big risk, sure. I think that would be a mistake overall, especially for the long-term health of the roster. But it's we'll see what happens.
We'll see. It doesn't even have to be this year. It could be into the summer too if we're
True.
looking at bouncing back.
Yep, that's a different conversation for sure.
Yes, Donnie Fester joins the chat. Donnie
Donnie.
Fester here. Something is fundamentally wrong with this team. I couldn't tell you what. What I can tell you is after 10 years, Logan Stanley is finally an offensive thought we thought we were drafting. Love the show. And then I see the Moose Knucklers going to the From Financial Faceoff. So it's time that we go into the From Financial Faceoff. What did you think was the difference in this game between the Jets and the Dallas Stars? Maybe it's something you saw from the Winnipeg Jets that have taken a step that's a little bit different from games past. Let's move into tonight's From Financial Faceoff.
Let's hit it. Right on.
Right on. What is your From Financial Faceoff tonight, Mikey?
Now, there are a couple ways that I wanted to go with this one tonight, but I think I want to zone in on the Jets being asleep at the wheel to start the game and to start some of these periods here. It's become a little bit of a trend, right? These early quick goals to start a game, to start a period. Didn't happen tonight, but getting outshot heavily early on as well. It just seems this season we've had so much more of a problem with, starting games asleep at the wheel, not being ready right at the hop. So often we start the top line out there as that, opening face-off. So it's not like we're putting out the third line and they're having to scrub it up. It's a lot of times it's those guys out there. So it's kind of interesting. It's a bit of a weird trend. And, again, I think was a problem tonight, right? If you are able to clean that up in that first 44 seconds, you've got a tie game at the end of this one. If you can somehow survive the first 2 minutes of the second period, that's 2 goals right there that they popped in on us. So it's something that definitely I think needs to be looked at and cleaned up.
Yeah, and I did feel that first one was probably a goal that Connor Hellebuck does have. I do think this was one of their games. I've been hesitant to put anything on Eric Comrie because I think it's been a lot more than that going on.
Yep.
And there's some numbers. I ran the numbers the other day, and it was a lot more concerning than even I realized. But I do think this was a game that Connor Hellebuck might have won with how the Jets showed up and might have made the saves that Eric Comrie left hanging out there tonight, unfortunately. And I thought that first goal right off the hop was a tough goal for Comrie to be given up. But that is a great point. They score all 3 of their goals that take the 3-0 lead within the first
2.5 minutes.
Periods.
Yep.
Like, I like that as your From Financial Faceoff a lot. Let's get into some of the chat. Over on Twitch, the Moose Knuckler started us off. Says the From Financial Faceoff is Arniel sleeping on the goalie pole on a fresh 2-minute power play.
Oh, yes.
Only to waste a full minute and then pull him on the next offensive zone faceoff. Top to bottom, shambles.
I was screaming at my TV during this. There was about 4 minutes left in the game when I'm like, okay, we need to start looking at this. They had pressure. It was a perfect opportunity to start. They had possession. They had pressure. It was everything that you need in that spot. And they're just like, no, we're going to keep pushing it off. And then we just waste it all the way down to when there's nothing left. It drives me nuts. The way that this team approaches the 6-on-5 situation and pulling the goalie at the end of games when they're down is so infuriating. I was screaming at my TV. So thank you, Moose Knuckler.
Yes,
Thanks,
it's
Brad.
been something that's bothered me at times this year too, that it does feel he's late on the trigger in a league that's gotten progressively more trigger happy and going early.
The math wears out. It shows. It's insane.
Gilbert Marion's From Financial Faceoff was the DeMello penalty killed the momentum, and I do agree there. The Winnipeg Jets were really turning things over in that third period, and then a leaky penalty kill gets back out there against the top end of the Dallas Stars and puts this game out of reach. I think that is the turning point of this game, so that's a great choice for the From Financial Faceoff. Harjivan Parwana's From Financial Faceoff is not trading for Marco Rossi. Also, not to switch to the MLB, but can I get an NHL comp for the Jays getting Cease? If the Jays were to add... like a top 10 to 12, 15.
Top 15, yeah.
defenseman in the NHL. That's maybe a little bit flawed, but his true believers. Hey, maybe it's like the Jays getting Evan Bouchard.
Ooh, there you go. Yeah. That's a good comp.
Or the Jets getting Evan Bouchard.
The Jets, yeah.
There's some flaws there, but you want to bet on the talent. Nicholas and Knight and Tico Napoli, you want to make sure that they point out the first goal was playoff Helly Luck-esque, and Helly usually gets beat early in games too. Hey,
yep,
it's a regular season game. I did think that was a goal that he might have. Turn Ferguson's from financial faceoff was the inability to score on the empty net when Laus took the Smith out to the corner with a high crossbody. Shades of Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. The middle six and Adam Lowry was willing to do anything, including channel the WWE moves to get the goalie out of the net, and the Winnipeg Jets still couldn't bury to tie this game. Caitlin 2 sets from financial faceoff is we have no good right-handed D, which it makes it impossible to put out steady, reliable pairs.
Yep.
No disagreement here. Tico Napoli from financial faceoff, the so-called new lines.
And phone lines are open, everybody. 1-204-800-0409. Get on the line, give us a call, and let us know what you thought tonight.
M_Howie says from financial faceoff, Comrie having a sub 888 save percentage when we got shots and goals for once. This was a game I do think Hellebuck wins with the Winnipeg Jets. This is one of those that I would put into that category. Good evening, Rob Somerville.
Welcome in.
Nice to see you in the chat. T. Conapoli, I wish.
We've got
says
a
Cole
call.
Perfetti for Zach Benson. I wish.
Right on. We've got the mayor of Transcona on the line.
Nick, Mike, how's everybody tonight?
Doing good, T. Kona. How are you doing?
Not too bad, I guess. I got to say, pretty admirable effort by KFC in 55 tonight.
100%.
The only thing would be more admirable is that they were less selfish and would sign off on not playing together.
At this point, yep. That's all we need from them at this point.
Yeah. So now, we already see who runs the show. I went on about it the last call about my nuclear option. They don't like it, trade one of them. Well, we know that's never going to happen, right? We know this nuclear option number 2 I have will never happen either because, it's all about nobody wants to play here, nobody wants to that. So when they do get here, if it ain't obvious with Shen, not only do you give up an arm and a leg for the guy, now you get him here, you got to coddle him to play, be in the lineup because, well, if he doesn't play, the narrative won't look good. We won't be able to get another guy who's past his, career date and get him in, right? So I wanted it for years. I still want it. Fire Chevy, fire Arnie, get the Hunter brothers in there right after the World Juniors.
Right after the World Juniors are going to the Hunters,
well, I don't know if you can do it right after. He probably got commitments to London. You might have to wait till the end of the season.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you this before moving on here. What is it about the Hunters you want to bring in? I gotta hear it.
No nonsense. There's no way Dale Hunter is gonna let. He won't even take the job unless he has full control between him and Mark. They'll want full reins. That's where it'll start. Mark would be GM or director of ops, and Dale would be coach. And they're I don't think they're going to stand for stuff like that. They're going to break up the lines and winning. Well, I don't know if it's so much at the NHL level. Well, I guess Mark won with Montreal. I don't know if Dale ever ended up winning, but obviously they win at the junior level. Hence why Canada's taking a shot with them.
Yeah, we will see where it goes with Team Canada after one of their worst experiences the last couple of years. Al Camino says to you.
Fifth place, yeah, back to back.
Yeah, Al Camino says, I gotta hear your input on this. Hate to break it to you, Ticona. Jimmy Roy and Mike Keenan are the next men up.
Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, Jimmy Roy was one of my all-time favorite players. I mean, if we had a guy like that in the lineup right now, at an NHL caliber in the lineup. I mean, Roy was never quite an NHL caliber guy, but he brought it every night.
No, that's
You know?
fair. That's fair.
So he
Ticona?
brought it. What about Perfetti for Zach Benson?
Oh, don't even get me started. I would love to, buddy.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, dude.
I'm a
you guys have a
Zach
good night.
Benson super fans. Give me a dog like that all day.
I'm all over that. Exactly. You need tenacious dog on players, not perimeter players, coasters, blah blah blah. Well, you need a good mix, I guess. But
Yeah.
I don't know. Jets don't seem to have that right now. It's disappointing.
It is, but hey, Ticona, thanks for the call and thanks for sharing your thoughts. We will talk to you soon here.
Right on.
I got to throw you under the bus, Mikey. Are you doing Cole Perfetti for Zach Benson?
Oh, don't do that to me.
I got
That's the way things are going. You could probably talk me into it at the moment, but man, that would break my heart to see Cole go. But yeah, like you said, Benson's a dog. That's you're really tempting me on that one.
Okay, so I'm gonna get to my From Financial Face-Off, and then we gotta get to the 3 stars, and I gotta get going because my dog's gotta get outside.
Are we gonna talk about Hellebuck quick too?
Yes. My From Financial Face-Off is the Hellebuck effect. Connor Hellebuck, we're being told, his return is measured in days, not weeks, and that he was wanting to play by the weekend. And the team said, hold up. What is the impact of Connor Hellebuck coming back? Is it going to be enough to turn this thing around given the level they've played at? Where are we at with Connor Hellebuck's return to what he's returning here with the Winnipeg Jets?
I actually have a clip of Hellebuck discussing it with the team today that I can show you real fast.
Okay, let's see it.
Now stand aside, worthy adversary.
'Tis but a scratch.
A scratch? Your arm's off.
No, it isn't.
Well, what's that then?
I've heard worse.
You liar.
Come on, you pansy.
The way that Hellebuck must be trying to get back to this right now after seeing the way the things have gone for the team. I would not be surprised that if he'd be going out there with one leg or one arm and doing whatever he can just to get back between the crease. It's insane that we're talking about a return so quickly after the injury, such a shorter time frame than what was originally said. I'm actually a little bit worried about this. I'm not a fan of rushing guys back from injury to try to salvage a potentially lost season, especially when it's a knee injury for your goalie that could end up impacting them long term more than just, a one season thing. You've got one of the best goalies on the planet, one of the best goalies in, recent NHL history, and to risk it on trying to rush him back so the Jets can have 2 home playoff dates seems insane to me.
I don't know enough about the injury. I'm going to trust the pro athlete isn't rushing back to try and save something. I'm hoping so because it would be even worse.
Because athletes definitely never try to rush back from injury and pretend they're not
I
hurt.
just don't know the details enough. But what he's coming back to, I don't know if he's going to be able to drag this back to a wild card spot. I ran the numbers before last game. So they're now 14-1. These numbers are pre-last game. 7 other 14 wins have come against the current bottom 5 in the NHL. They have not won 2 games straight since November 15th and 18th, and that was Calgary and Columbus. At 5-on-5 in shot attempts, which is Corsi, 29th in the NHL. Expected goals, 30th. Scoring chances, 31st. They are legit tank bad at 5-on-5 with a healthy group outside of Hayden Fleury if you think he's going to shift those numbers. At 5-on-5 entering today, so the gap grows. They've had 27, 29, 31, 33 goals where at least one of the top 3 guys was on the ice. Make it 35. They have 23 without them at 5-on-5. In 855 minutes for the bottom 9, 45% shot attempts, 42% expected goals, 42% scoring chances. That would be the worst team in the NHL.
Yep.
When the top 3 players, and include Morrissey in that, when the top 4 players aren't on the ice for the Winnipeg Jets. Connor Hellebuyck's done a lot of big things for this organization. He's carried a lot of tough rosters. The way that the Winnipeg Jets are actually playing right now, in a season where me and Mike were having this conversation, so I want to shout out Mike Friesen. Says Chevy's historically bad offseason, costing True North a guaranteed playoff appearance. What's so funny about all these conversations we've had, there are so many bad teams in the NHL this year. There's like, I think I saw today, the top 7 or 8 teams by odds carry like a 60% chance to win the cup, which in that game of hockey is almost unheard of, to carry that big of a slice.
Yep.
In a year where the league's bad and they've still gotten their core impact, the numbers look like that at 5-on-5 for this roster. You look at some of the games over the stretch he's missed, 5-1, 6-1. Does he make it 3-1, 2-1 instead?
Yep.
He's going to get this team wins. I don't know if and this is someone that I think deserved the MVP last year. I still don't know if he's good enough to carry this team to anything legitimate.
No, absolutely not. It's not just a goalie problem. If they were going out there and the whole forward lineup was playing well and you're getting scoring all up and down and they just happen to lose every game 4-3, then yeah, you'd go for sure, fucking get Hellebuyck in there yesterday and let's win some of these 1-goal games. That's just not the case. That's just not, no matter what, Kevin Sawyer wants to tell you, that was not the best fourth line in the National Hockey League tonight. Like, this isn't the same team as last year. Caitlin Doucette pointed out earlier in the chat that the entire depth of the Winnipeg Jets went from having career highs last year to career lows this year. You got to beware the magical season. Everybody went off last year. We talked about it a lot during the season that you were getting double-digit goal totals and career high in goals from like 7 out of your bottom 9. It was huge. You're not going to get that every single year because if you were, those guys wouldn't be depth pieces, right? If they could consistently do that every year, they'd be a little higher value. So trying to salvage anything out of what's gone on this year by rushing Hellebuyck back, I think it's a bad idea. I'm not putting a whole lot of faith into the medical staff that he is 100% ready to go.
Yeah, we will leave it at that. Let's get into the 3 stars because I have a whiny dog. I gotta get the hell outside before he makes a mess up here.
Right on.
Who's your 3 stars tonight, Mikey?
All right, 3rd star, patrolling the blue line. Big bounce back game. Number 44, Josh Morrissey. Thought his overall impact, especially late in the game, was real evident. He's continuing his real good season. 2nd star, he's 4th in 5-on-5 scoring. He's got a career year in goals already. He's everything that they've wanted him to be for 10 years. We finally got him there, baby. Golgan Stanley, number 64. And your number 1 star, no question about it. No surprises. Mark Scheifele, another 2 goals. He's fighting for that Olympic spot. He wants it real bad. We're going to get 100 points on that man as well this year. So number 155.
Okay, I'm going to go 3rd star, Kyle Connor. I thought he might have been the best and most active Winnipeg Jet, especially offensively today. I will go number 2. He got the 2 goals. He's heading to the Olympics, I think. Mark Scheifele. And number 1 is going to be Mikko Rantanen because Mikko Rantanen owns this franchise.
Yep.
Thank you all for tuning in. We will be back later this week as who's next on the schedule here, Mikey?
We've got coming up, no, that was today, Boston on Thursday.
We will be back for the Jets versus Boston Thursday. Enjoy the rest of your week. Thank you for being here. We'll talk soon.
Right on. Good night, everybody.